Was ready to quit my job for love, but found out the woman I was going to propose to had been secretly engaged to someone else, and was using me for money to pay for her wedding and a honeymoon with another man. She'd messaged me that morning as usual, just a quick morning, babe, and a selfie of her coffee with my favorite quote on the mug that I'd bought her. Do what you love who you do it with. I remember smiling like an idiot, staring at that note, trapped in my office elevator with a bunch of people that I no longer greeted anymore. I was going to quit that job. Not right away, but soon. I had been working 14-hour days in a paper-thin cubicle, reporting to a supervisor who once nuked fish in the break room, all so that I could eke out an existence, and put away money for a ring. And not some ring, mind you, the kind of ring that when she opened it, she'd think about every other guy she ever went out with. I had already narrowed it down to 2. She'd loved emerald cuts, and she told me she had a preference for yellow gold as being warm. I'd planned everything out. This day, though, something peculiar happened. Not initially did it come in pieces. To start, I got her Venmo request. $50 for makeup. No problem. She'd borrowed money before and paid me back. We weren't married or anything, but we were committed. Or at least I thought. And then she phoned me that evening. Said her mom was sick and she had to fly home immediately. Emergency sort of situation. She was crying, saying her mom might need to have surgery, and she hadn't saved up enough in her savings after settling her student loan company. I offered to book her flight right away. She said no, just send the money and she'd take care of it, it was easier. Did not hesitate. Sent her $320. It's not inexpensive for me. Lived on no groceries that week. Cooking instant noodles and eggs every night. Told myself it's what love is. Sacrifice. Being there when it counts. But then she didn't put anything up for 3 days. No posts. No texts unless I reached out. When I asked how her mom was doing, she said stable and changed the subject. Informed me that she missed me and couldn't wait to hold me in her arms again. That was enough. I did not ask more. Love isn't always logical when one is feeling it. Sometimes it's just gravity, you fall regardless. But then something decidedly strange happened. My introverted coworker Kira, the quiet observer, poked her head in my cubicle and stated, "Hey, didn't you tell me your girlfriend's name was Lauren?" I replied yeah, perplexed. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone and showed me a photo on Instagram. It was from another person's private story, someone she follows but not me. The title of the account did not sound familiar to me, but the picture did. It was Lauren, dressed in a white long wedding gown, and hand in hand with some guy in a tuxedo under this flower arch on what seemed like a beach. And she was smiling in a way that I never saw her smile before. Not at me. I laughed initially. Like what? I explained to her it had to have been a photo shoot or something. Lauren modeled occasionally part-time as a part-time job. Kira just raised an eyebrow and said, "Read the caption." It read, "Can't believe you're mine forever forever?" Hashtag she said yes, hashtag L+T 2025. I swear my stomach dropped so hard that I nearly tossed my cookies. I do not know how I stood there, still breathing, with the whir of office printers and people munching on salads just going on like nothing happened. I said, "This must be old. She is not even close to being wed." Kira gazed at me with this kindness, like she pitied me, and just said, "It's from yesterday." I had gone home from work early that afternoon. Lied to her and said I had a migraine. Which, honestly, wasn't far off from the truth. My head was pounding. My throat was closed up. I couldn't even get mad, just sat on the floor of my apartment for an hour or so. Didn't even take off my shoes. My phone vibrated a couple of times. Text from Lauren. "Made it back safe, miss you already and thinking about you." I stared at those messages like they were written in a language I didn't understand. What do you say to someone who just pretended to be ill so you would send her money, when she was actually marrying some other man? I did not respond. I could not. I just kept going back to that picture. I zoomed in on it. Her eyes were closed. Her smile was so peaceful. She was a woman who had it all she ever wanted. And I was just a guy that she was borrowing money from. I thought she was my future. What I learned was that I was her plan B. Her ATM. Her emotional pillow until the new one arrived. I did not even know who the guy in the picture was. He was bearded, older. Rich, maybe? And I was reminded how long it had been going on. How many dinners did I pay for while she sent him goodnight texts? How many I love yous were rehearsed deceptions to keep me tethered? I started going through our texts, searching for the hints. Things that I had missed. Moments that had not sat right. And I saw them. All of them. The cold snap retaliates. The skipped calls. The time she said she was busy, doing family stuff, but never even provided details. The manner in which she never introduced me to any of her friends. God, I was so stupid. I didn't sleep that night. Not a wink. I lay there for hours staring up at the ceiling, as the apartment remained too quiet, too still, as if it was holding its breath right along with me. I just kept thinking, perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps the photo wasn't what I believed it was. Perhaps it was a joke, or a setup, or perhaps even an impersonator posing as her. But I knew. I knew because I'd sensed it. You always do, don't you? You simply don't want to accept it. There were warning signs. Minor ones. The manner in which she never allowed me to upload photos of the two of us together. Told her that she enjoyed keeping things on a personal level. The way she'd always offer to pay but I'd always end up covering the bill myself. And the weirdest thing? She never wanted me to meet her parents. Said they were complicated and still sorting things out. I'd figured that she was keeping them from me because I was special, that she was looking out for me. Now I knew the truth. She was hiding me from her. I wasn't part of her plans, I was just holding them together. I wanted to tell her something. I really did. I even typed out this enormous message asking why. Why would she lie to me? Why take my money, my time, my heart, and pretend like I was anything? But I couldn't send it. I just sat there glued to my phone for an hour with that message sitting open, my thumb hovering over the blue arrow. And then something within me snapped. Not so much because I was angry but because I was hollow. Numb. I erased the whole thing and I just typed, "Hope your mom's better." She responded 5 minutes later. "Thanks babe, she's still recovering. I miss you so much it hurts." I read this message, and I think that's when my heart actually broke. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just this sort of silent, aching snap somewhere in my chest. Like a thread had finally unraveled free. I knew in that moment, I wasn't some guy she played around with. I was the guy who almost lost his entire life for someone who didn't even consider me real. I stayed home that weekend. Ate my meals alone. Turned my phone off. I did not say one word to anyone. Sat with the truth. Let it set in. I did not scream like I knew I should have. I did not cry or break things. I just felt hollow. Like all of the things I had been working towards, every plan, every penny I'd pinched, every text message that I'd read and reread countless times, every late night I'd worked to get overtime so that I could get her something, none of it counted. It had all been founded on a lie. And the saddest thing? She was likely on her honeymoon by now. Someplace blue and warm and lovely, sipping champagne with a man who did not know she was employing someone else to pay for their happily ever after. Monday came around, and I dragged myself into work like a ghost. Kira saw me, didn't say anything, just this quiet nod like, "I get it." I appreciated that more than words can say. I didn't want pity. I didn't want to give the reasons. I just wanted to be gone for a bit. But something odd began to occur that week. Every time I considered giving up, about tossing it all and going somewhere else just to erase, I'd feel this stinging ache in my chest. Not from missing her. For myself. From realizing that I nearly lost my whole life for someone who could not even provide me with the truth. I couldn't help but think about what would have happened if I had actually carried out my plan. I had a draft of my resignation email ready. I had apartment brochures in her city bookmarked in a folder on my laptop. I was going to ask her out. I had the date of June 12th planned. That's where her parents had met for the first time, she'd say. Said she was a believer in signs. I had hoped to leave her a sign myself. A sign of forever. But that never materialized. And here I was now. Just a man sitting in a cubicle under the low fluorescent lights, learning he almost burned his entire life down for a dream that never came to be. I just kept glancing around at the world as if I didn't recognize it anymore. Laughter at lunchtime. Weekend plans. How could they just keep going on? My world had dissolved in silence, and the others just kept going. That kind of loneliness? It gets inside you. And yet somehow amidst all that, I started seeing the world in a different way. Not better. Just more clearly. I started remembering who I was before her. The man who actually liked his career, even though it was not glamorous. The man who dreamed about writing music, not buying rings. The man who used to laugh, actually laughed, without worrying if someone laughed at him behind his back. That Friday morning, I opened my email and pressed delete on the resignation letter. I did not talk to anyone. Did not make some big announcement. I just let it out. Slowly. Like slowly releasing a fist you weren't even aware you had been holding. And for the first time in months, I went out after work. Not to a bar or anything wild, just to the bookstore across the street. I wandered around, flipped through some paperbacks, grabbed a coffee, and sat by the window while it rained. I didn't look at my phone. I didn't think of her. I just breathed. And for a small moment, that was sufficient. It is odd what comes into your mind when your heart starts piecing itself together again. Like there was this one evening, I think it was mid-April, when Lauren called me around midnight crying. Said she and her dad had fought about money, and she didn't want to return home. I'd been sound asleep but told her come on over. She came in wearing this gigantic hoodie, ponytail of hair, no makeup. She climbed into my bed like she lived there, and was asleep on my chest in seconds. I remember lying awake, thinking that's it. That's love. And now that I'm looking back, I just can't help but wonder, was that moment real? Was any of it? Did she ever really love me, even slightly? Or was it all deception? It gets to your head because even when you realize you were deceived, your body still hurts for the individual. Your hands still crave to touch them at night. Your brain still remembers the way they looked at you, the way they said your name. It's like having a ghost follow you around that's not even a ghost. After that night in the bookstore, I started doing little things to bring myself back from the dead. Waking up early again. Fixing breakfast, even if it was just toast and eggs. I started writing in a journal, which sounds kinda stupid, but it helped. I'd write down everything I could remember of our relationship, the good and the lies. Like some part of me needed to get everything in one place so that I could say, this happened. And now it's done. I hadn't told anyone anything, not even my closest friends, of what really had occurred. I just said that we broke up and that was all. Part of me was still too ashamed. Like I'd been stupid not to have realized it sooner. As if I'd given my heart to a person who never did deserve it, and now I had to accept the repercussions. And yet I hadn't blocked her. I don't know why. There was something in me that was ill like that, and wished to see her name pop up. Wished to know if she'd finally own up, get it, apologize, or I don't know, realize I mattered. A week or so after that, she messaged me out of the blue. Said, hey stranger. Just been thinking about you. How's it going? Just like that. Like nothing ever happened. Like we were still together. I stared at that message so long my coffee went cold in my hand. My heart began to race, and not in a good way. More fear. I had no idea what to reply. I had no idea what she was seeking. But I knew that if I responded, even with a single sentence, I'd leave the door open once more. I'd invite her back into the private spaces of my life where she no longer fit. So I didn't reply. I shut off the conversation and laid down my phone. And I'm serious, by just not replying it was like taking back this small piece of myself. Like putting one brick back in the wall she'd destroyed. But her text stuck in my head for days. It made me question all things once more. Was she texting me because she missed me? Because something went wrong with her new boyfriend? Or was she bored? Need another favor? I'd never know. And maybe I didn't need to. I reminded myself of the truth of the photo, the caption, the made-up emergencies, the borrowed cash most probably spent on wedding nails and resort fees. That was real. That betrayal was real. And no text message could undo it. Around that time, my mom called me. I hadn't told her much, just told her the relationship was over. She asked if I was okay, and I finally told her some of it, not everything, but some. She didn't say much afterward, then made a comment that to this day I think about. She said, you gave her your best, honey? That's something to be proud of. It just means she wasn't ready for that kind of love. And I believe that stuck with me because yeah, I did give her my all. I showed up. I believed. I dreamed. I sacrificed. And maybe it meant nothing to her, but it still means something to me. I was real. My love was real. Even if she was faking, I wasn't. That epiphany helped in assisting me in getting better at showing up for myself again. I started going to the gym. Talked to a few of my friends I hadn't seen in months because I'd been so focused on being around for her. Started reading more and writing in my journal more. I even took a weekend trip up north just to clear my head. Rented a little cabin, hiked, prepared my own meals. Sat outside under the stars and thought about everything I'd endured. And there was this one night I'll never forget it when I built a little fire and sat alone in the dark with trees and cold air all around me. And for the first time, I didn't feel broken. I just felt quiet. Like something in me had finally stopped screaming. That's when I knew I was gonna be okay. Not fixed. Not over it. But okay. Because I wasn't holding out for her to make it more clear. I wasn't expecting her to call and inform me it was an error. I didn't need her to validate my suffering. I'd already completed the hardest thing. I'd lived it. Experienced it. And survived it. And while I wouldn't call what occurred a gift, what I do say is this: it woke me up. Showed me what I was worth. What I would never accept a second time. I'd nearly have quit my job, sold my flat, packed my life into a suitcase for someone who didn't even think me worth the truth. But I didn't. Caught myself just short of the fall. And while the crash had hurt, at least I was left standing on my own 2 feet. I met her again. Entirely by accident. It had been about 2 months since the last time we'd exchanged messages. I was working in a coffee shop near my office, one of those small little corner cafes where you actually hear yourself think, and I was waiting for my drink and I happened to glance up and there she was. Lauren. Standing just a few feet away, in line in front of the pastry case, laughing at something the barista had cracked, and she looked exactly the same. Bun of hair, that crossbody bag she always carried, gold hoop earrings. But somehow she appeared smaller. Not physically. Just something about her presence. She turned around, and for half a second our eyes met. I froze. She blinked, as if surprised, and smiled this forced smile, like not guilty, not really sorry either. Just awkward. I nodded. That's all. Just a slight tilt of the head. Then I got my coffee and I went. And this is what I'm here to tell you. I wasn't crying. I wasn't angry. I didn't feel anything. It was like seeing somebody you know from another time, somebody you thought you'd spend your whole life with, and find out they were just a chapter. One that's already been read, underlined, cried over, and closed. Later that night, I opened up my notes program and removed the file I'd had stored there with all the things I was going to say to her. It had sat there for months, lines I'd come up with in case I ever got my hands on her. Questions like, why did you choose me? And was any of it real? And did you ever feel something when you saw me, once? But I no longer needed to pose those questions. I no longer needed responses. I no longer needed closure. I was the closure. My healing did not need her apologies. It began the day I made the decision that she had no right to come near me anymore, not my time, my energy, or even my pain. And then the months that followed, something actually amazing started to happen. I started to feel proud. Not because I got over her, but because I learned how to take care of myself better. I learned that love, real love, isn't about how much you give, it's about whether or not the other person appreciates what you give. She didn't. And now that's her cross to bear. I used to replay the good times like they were proof that maybe I had imagined the worst ones. But now I know better. The good times? Those happened because I created them to happen. They were mine. My kindness. My concern. My work. And all of that was not wasted. It just wasn't directed to the right person. Eventually, I told some friends the whole truth. Not all dirty details, but a few. And each time, they'd glance over at me with that mixture of outrage and incredulity, as if they were about to get up and go find her and demand justice. But I didn't want revenge. I didn't even want an apology by this point. I just needed to be at peace. And for once I was. Ironically, not in some big movie moment. It came on a Tuesday morning, in my kitchen, spilling cereal, light falling through the blinds. It was then that I'd realized that I hadn't been thinking about her in a week. No scrolling through her socials, no reliving our conversations, no twinge in my chest. Just quiet. As if my heart really had moved out of the room she'd sat in. I've never been the same since. A little more guarded. A little more cautious. But not bitter. I still wonder about love. I still wonder about the kind of relationship that is not grounded in lies and conditions. I've learned to ask better questions, listen more sharply, trust my gut when something feels off. I know now that real love does not have to be hidden. It does not accept money in the guise of emergencies. It doesn't disappear on weekends or elude your friends. True love comes. And when it does, you don't feel like you're going after it. You feel held. Safe. Chosen. I don't regret loving her. I don't regret the way I gave. I regret that she had no idea what to do with it. That's on her though. I still maintain my integrity. I still maintain my heart. And above all, I have myself back. The man who used to think in fairy tales is still here, only older, wiser, and a lot more down to earth. And perhaps that is what love is actually supposed to make you learn. Not how to cling but how to let go. So yeah, I almost lost my job, my home, my entire routine for someone who was engaged to another man. I was the secret, the safety net, the extra credit. And I survived it. I healed from it. I walked through the fire and came out softer, not colder. And I think that matters. That counts. Not every story has the ending you want them to have. But sometimes the ending you get is the one you need. And this was mine.